You're listening to Sudbury News Talk.
I want to show you something.
Stand by. On the morning shift.
Anything
could happen.
Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.
Hey everyone, welcome to Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift. I'm AJ Walsh, glad to be here with you. Thankful that you're here with us. Going to have a great show for you today, as usual, as my computer just shut off, and hopefully it's loading back up again. So that's interesting. One of those interesting mornings. Nothing new under the sun. It seems to be status quo for the beginning of the show. There's always something, just like it says in the intro. There's anything can happen, and that's exactly true. It's exactly true in our world as well, and that's what we have the show for, is try to make sense of the city we live in, the community, the region, the province, the country, the world we live in. There's all kinds of things constantly going on that we need to, I guess, try to, if we can, make some sense of it. It's not easy, as we know. There's many people who feel many different things and have different takes on what's going on. And so here we just basically allow everybody to come and share their point of view on the news. So Sudbury News Talk each and every weekday morning on CKLU 96.7 between 7:30 and 8:30 a.m. We're here to have our conversation with you. It's your conversation on your station. CKLU 96.7 has been around since 1984. We're grateful for the platform. We're grateful that it's here. You can support it by going to cklu.ca and just clicking on donate, or you can buy the merch that we have on our website. All kinds of really great things, from shirts to mugs to hats. You name it, everything's there. Keeps the lights on, keeps the airwaves open. Mainly run from volunteers like myself, who come on and volunteer their shows. So if that's something that you feel you could do to contribute, you can also support the station by becoming a volunteer, whether it's behind the mic, or if you know anything about computers or anything about technology that has to do with radio broadcasting. We would definitely welcome you to the team, and we would be grateful to have you come on board. So all you do is email gm@cklu.ca. You would be emailing Rob, who's the general manager, and you let him know that you have a talent or a skill that could contribute to helping the station function and stay on the air. So thanks for that. We're also streaming live at facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, follow, and all those things. Mainly comment, because we'll do our best to read your comments for those listening. And for those watching, get them up on the screen. And you should know that the show also lives on demand afterwards on facebook.com/Sudbury News, youtube.com/Sudbury News, X, formerly twitter.com/Sudbury News, and on our news aggregating website, which aggregates all the news, the local news, into one location. We'll go through that website today, just to, if you haven't been to it, showing how it basically puts all of our local news into one page. Now that we can't share news, whether it's local, international, or anything, on Facebook or Instagram, as a result of Canadian legislation, policies that we've made, whether that was the outcome they were going for or not, that's the outcome we have. We cannot share news on the most widely used platforms that are out there. I don't know whose purposes that suits, but it is what it is. Everything's political, and you just never know. You only know by the end results, right? Maybe why something was done. And we'll try to make sense of that. We have weather, a little bit of sports update about the Five, how they fared in their game against the London Lightning, and news headlines, your comments, and more. We'll get started right into it right away with a little bit of weather, and we'll be back right after this. It's going to be a great show. Stay tuned. And Sudbury weather brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. Currently, it is currently 9 degrees, but it feels like 9 degrees, mostly cloudy out there. And today you can expect a mix of sun and cloud with a 40% chance of showers, risk of thunderstorm early in the morning. Fog patches dissipating this morning, wind becoming southwest 20 kilometers, and a high of 22 in the UV index. And I know everybody's waiting for the UV index. It is 6 today. Tonight, partly cloudy with a 30% chance of showers this evening, clearing overnight. Wind southwest 20 kilometers, becoming light this evening. The low for tonight will be 6. Tuesday, mainly sunny with a high of 18. The UV index will still be 6. Extended forecast for Tuesday, mainly sunny, 18 degrees. And Wednesday, sunny, high of 19. Thursday, mix of sun and cloud, high of 19. And then the showers roll in for the weekend again. Lucky us. You got 60% chance of showers, high of 21 for Friday, 40% chance of showers for Saturday, high of 22, and a 60% chance of showers for Sunday. There you go. Friday, Saturday, Sunday, showers, and Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, mostly sunny. Look at your satellite image here. This is yesterday, so all that activity going on over, northern Ontario here. We had quite a bit of rain, quite a bit of clouds, and hey, heck, the weather is still pretty much, doing the same thing. So mostly chance of showers today with a chance of thunder showers. So that looks like it pretty much looked the same anyways, even though we don't have the most current satellite image for you. That's your Sudbury weather, brought to you by sudburyweather.ca. We'll be back with a little sports wrap up, I guess, for the year for the Sudbury 5, and then news headlines, your comments, and more right after this. Your Sudbury 5 were in action Friday night right here. In town, yeah. The Sudbury 5 were back on their home court Friday night, hoping to extend the Basketball Super League semifinals to a 5th and deciding game against the London Lightning. The 5 gave a valiant effort, but saw their season come to an end after losing 114 to 111. London got the start they were looking for in this contest, and thanks to solid performances from Chris Jones with 35 points in the night, and Antoine Mason, 24 points in the game. London held a lead by a score of 34-23 after the first quarter of play, so they got off to a quick lead, and the 5 were not able to come back. And so the season for the Sudbury 5 is now come to an end. They will not be going to a Game 5 against London. They will not be advancing to the finals, and that's that. So great season for the Sudbury 5, and we thank them for that. Thanks for putting on a great performance on the court each and every night. We're grateful for that, and so with that, thank you for that, and we'll be back with news headlines, your comments, and much more right after this. Okay, so we have quite a few people joining us so far today. We're grateful for you being on, and we usually just have a few going around and thanking everyone for being on, checking in with you, saying good morning, and checking in with the comments as I try to get my computer back up and running here. Oh, there it is, and here we go, and there you are. So there we go. So good morning to Judy, first to the Facebook party this morning. And Monique, good morning good morning Sudbury with a sunshine or a smiley emoji. Miles, good morning to you. Thanks for being on. And Marianne, good morning, everyone from Barrie. Hope all you moms had a great day yesterday. Yes, I was going to mention that as well. So Mother's Day yesterday. I hope everybody had a wonderful Mother's Day. Either you're a mother yourself and you're able to, have your day. And if you have your mom and you're able to make her day, either way, hopefully it was great. And thanks for that, Marianne. Liked and shared as usual. Belinda, this is usually has a statement every day, usually positive. Belinda says, and good morning, by the way, if the government cannot protect the vote, the border, or its citizens, then why do we have a government? That's a good question. That's actually a very fair and good question, Belinda. It's time to dismantle the fraud and the facade, great rhyming words, by the way, of governments globally. Okay, and I don't know if that's even part of the grand scheme of things in a way. It seems like it might be, poking the bear of its citizens and hoping that, maybe that's all part of the plan. I know if you study Marxist ideology at all, it's kind of seems like that's what it could be. It's like you can have order out of chaos, but you have to create the chaos first in order to have the order, right? And tear down whatever we have right now and build back better, right? As the words you hear from so many of the world's leaders, where they get from the world leader, Klaus Schwab is his name. If you haven't heard of him, you may want to look it up and find out who this particular gentleman is, because he has a huge influence over you in your life, and you might not have realized that. And so, yes, it could be part of the grand scheme of things is to make government so apparently, in the public, so corrupt looking, and have people demand to have them gone, so that way governments then people will fight against them. And then what do you have in its place? So right, you got to have something in its place if you're going to tear something down, and then what's going to come in its place, you never know, right? Here it's just a very complicated situation. We are going to live it, so we'll see what's going to happen regardless. Brian says, good morning, Patriots. Super excited about another week. Hanging on by a thread. I thought you were going to say, remember to pay your taxes. Other countries are depending on it. But I guess tax season is now officially over. So good morning with a heart emoji, and good morning smiley emoji from Maurice. So that's Mona. Good morning. Maurice. Good morning. Gilles. Good morning. Great to see you on, Gilles, from North Bay. And Liette. Good morning, everyone, from Collingwood. Vin, morning. Thanks for being on. Pat, good morning. Smiley emoji. Sheila, good morning from Quebec. Good morning to you, Sheila. Thanks for being on. And Denise, blessings from Espanola. And you also go on to say, I've been reading comments from Espanola and Manitoulin Island that the cops are having mandatory breathalyzers. That's interesting that we're having it in Manitoulin and Espanola. I heard that they were going forward in larger cities like Toronto and for sure Ottawa, as Ottawa becomes the beacon on the hill of the Chinese type model for Canada, with cameras everywhere, and now mandatory breathalyzers when you're stopped at checkpoints, which then could lead to other things, right? If it's normalized where you can get stopped and you can breathe in, you have to breathe into something. They can also then check for all the other things, your license, registration, insurance, make sure everybody, and eventually you're going to catch someone for something. You'll look over and see something in the car or whatever. And the more you have police constantly pulling people over and constantly checking on things, they can then find more things. And you might think, well, you shouldn't have things for them to find. Well, you just know when a police state arises and you become a police state, which I think is the end game for Canada, a communist country, police state, is the utopian world of some people that are in positions of power that are pushing towards it, making laws that are going towards that. You do have a constant police presence, and we have had the military just recently doing wellness checks, quote unquote, going door to door. And so normalizing the idea of Canadian military coming to your door, police stopping you on the roads and forcing you to do something against your will. And many might say, yeah, but how else are we going to catch the people who are drinking and driving? And you are right. You are right. That is a way to catch. Another way is to have a society in which people wouldn't have a need to drink, first of all, or to escape the reality that we have, if you can make our reality better. But again, that's just my own opinion. The idea of police making sure everyone's doing everything in association and in collaboration with the use of cameras and having a surveillance state. So a surveillance state with cameras, police state with feet on the ground, in collaboration with Canadian military, which we're seeing now. You can just imagine what kind of world this will be turning into very shortly. And you don't have to look too far. There are countries in the world that are already living that particular type of life. China is amongst the forerunners of this, and they've already gone that way. They're already full-on communist, and they have the most cameras per capita even than any other country, and they've already started using those cameras to their benefit in having facial recognition with keeping track of where everyone is at any particular time and tracking what they are doing in their daily lives. So they have what's called a social credit score. So everything is documented, and when you do a good deed, you get points. It's like PC points, right? You're rewarded for buying groceries or gas, and you can redeem those points. Well, in China, if you do a good deed, you can also get rewarded, but the good deeds are obviously what the government deems good deeds. So they will reward you if you're doing what they want, but the flip side of that is they can punish you for not doing what they don't want you to do, and they could take away credits from you, right? And there's a lot of people out there that are like, yes, that's a great idea. PC points, personal PC points for your personal actions. So that guy who cuts you off or whatever, good, he's going to get demerit points for that. Or, someone didn't wear their mask when they were mandated to, and the facial recognition recognizes that, and now they're no longer able to do their banking or something. They're not able to travel. They're not able to get on the bus. They're not able to get on the plane because they don't have the right social credit score to be able to do that. That is right around the corner here for us here in Canada as well. And we can see the writing on the wall. We see it getting to that point, right? It's not hard. I have heard this was going to happen for sure. Pat says, that was Marianne, and Pat says they are doing everything they can to stop people from driving. That is another truth as well. Maybe we'll have a video on that a little bit later. Sustainable development goals. Has anybody heard of that term for municipalities? Well, they're coming for a municipality near you, including ours. Sustainable development goals. It sounds so pure and virtuous and praiseworthy, but when you peel back or peel away the layers of the onion, you start finding it's all just for control of people and the type of control that it is. I don't know if everybody would want to vote for something like that if it was all transparent. Sustainable development goals for your community. So might have a lady who's speaking in a Victoria meeting, a Victoria City Council meeting, talking about these goals and talking about what it's doing to her city, right? Marianne also says, I've also heard the worst for doing these infractions are politicians, which I found interesting. Guess we will find out soon enough, right? For sure. And Vin says, and a global governing body to put the final nail in the coffin of freedom. Yeah, we'll find that the freedoms that we're enjoying are getting less and less and less. Yes, mayors just had a meeting about all this stuff. The reports are from Espanola and Manitoulin Island being stopped. It's like martial law. Interesting. Just saved a photo of a meme today just because it's very telling as to how this all happens over time. And the meme, not sure what exactly happened there, but the meme says, if you reduced a dog's chain one link at a time every few days until its chain was too short, he won't be able to move. He'll never resist because he's conditioned of the loss of his freedom slowly over time. And that's what's happening to you. So the idea of, a dog on a chain, which many people would feel is a cruel thing these days, but not too long ago, many dogs were just, let out on chains in the yard. And so the analogy is, if you just took away one link per day, eventually the dog wouldn't realize, what's happening, and it would just be there with just right against the wall or whatever was holding the chain without any freedom to move anywhere. And that's kind of like what happens in society. It's the frog in the pot analogy. You put a frog in a pot with beautiful lukewarm water. It's just so beautiful and whatever and comfortable. And then you turn up the heat 1 degree at a time over time. And eventually the frog's boiling and didn't realize it, right? So there are people in positions that have agendas that they want to see certain things done for certain reasons. And one of those things happens to be, if people have too much freedom, those plans will not be able to come to fruition. Sheila says, does the rule of law in Canada not still have rights to citizens' arrest if police are using their powers against people? Yeah, not sure. I've thought about that a lot too, right? What are the citizens' rights to be able to do something even in the face of police? And I heard an interesting argument from Reason magazine this morning about private policing as opposed to government policing. And would that possibly, I know in Canada, the idea of private anything is a dirty word or demonized because we're a socialist country and everything should be run by the government, right? Our healthcare system, our education, our police, you name it, needs to be all governmentized rather than privatized. But the idea of police being privatized would be every community runs them the way that they want to, and it comes out of your own money anyways. So why wouldn't you just govern the police in every jurisdiction? Could be privatized, right? And you could have more say in the type of policing that you have rather than someone comes out with the idea of, breathalyzers for everybody, and then all these communities all at once do them, right? So if everybody had their own police and it was all privatized per community, these types of rollouts would be a lot less likely to happen. But when everything's centralized and you just come up with an idea, everyone's going to do it right away. And that's the idea, right? So if one person gets control of the centralized system, one person can then control everybody. So that's where centralization, the downside of centralization is. So if you have really great people running it, it's going to work well. But if you have people with ill intent, then it has the ability to go the opposite. So, okay, hey, but China, this is Miles, has the lowest crime rate per population density. Qualify that agency in the country is not free. Qualifying that agency in that country is not free, for sure. So they do have the lowest crime rate because if you control everybody, you are going to have less crime, right? And so that's the trade-off. You lose your freedom for security, right? If you want to be safe, the more that people come to you, including the government, say we can make you more safe, that means you're going to have less freedom because we need your freedoms in order to make you safer. And so you always have to be aware of that. And not many people are. Like, they don't really dig that deep into how things really work, and they're just happy to give away their freedom to be safe. They want to be secure. And that's what it comes down to. Every person that is unvaccinated quickly found out we had no protection from our government or the police. The silence is deafening. That's Belinda. Jerome says, good morning, Sudbury. Good to be home from Timmins. Good morning, Jerome. Thanks for being with us. We did play the video that you shared on the last show, or the 2 shows ago. Or no, was it Friday? It was about the WHO and how it started, and it was a really great 30-minute presentation. So thanks for sharing that with me. I shared it with everybody on Friday. Vin says, ask Trudeau, the man that threw out the Charter of Rights illegally for your protection and has never been arrested. Democracy is trust-based. They're diminishing the trust to welcome an unelected government body, which would be the UN, the WHO, the WEF, NATO, etc. Yeah, I agree with you fully. These are international organizations of unelected officials that we're kind of giving our sovereignty away to, including the document that we're about to sign in Canada, to sign on to the WHO, having full control over any crisis or emergency that Canada has that could be deemed somehow linked to a health crisis. We already saw Dr. Theresa Tam say that health is related to climate change and capitalism somehow, and that's bad for our health. So anything can be made to be a health crisis, and so we're looking at signing this treaty, all the nations of the world. Apparently, I heard that Great Britain has backed out of it, so I'd have to confirm that. That would be great news if that indeed is the case. Marianne says, can you imagine anyone stopped driving? All insurance companies would go bankrupt. Mind you, in my opinion, insurance is one of the biggest scams. For sure. Exactly right. Our world is about to be flipped upside down on its head. Get ready, buckle up, because it's going to be interesting. But a lot of us are like, well, we know we got to do something about what's going on now. We know something has to drastically change. The problem is the solution could be worse than the problem, at least for the short term. So buckle up. Belinda, that's why they hate the term private citizen. Private citizen, they should know nothing about us. They are public citizens, and they should know everything about them. Yeah, they are public citizens. We should know everything about them, but we're private citizens, and everything should be kept private about us unless we are breaking a law. And that's where the whole conundrum starts, right? It's the idea of we are capable of breaking laws. And so if you want a safe society, who's going to police that? And you ever hear when there's a crime out there, people always ask for tougher laws, right? We need tougher laws. It's not tough enough. And then that's where that whole conversation goes until the point where everyone's surveyed and monitored, and to the point where you do one little thing, you get an automated ticket coming in your mail. And then, that's the kind of society we're going to force everybody to obey the law. And once you have that, and someone gets a hold of that system, and then you're obeying them, laws can change too, right? Laws don't stay the same. And so whoever's making the laws makes you obey them, and they have the tools to force you to obey. So that's the kind of world we can turn into. And many people think, oh, that'll never happen, right? We just want to be safe now, give away one little freedom at a time, and, it'll never end up like that. It'll never get that bad, right? This is Vin. Trudeau has made transparent the 2-tiered society. He stood on transparency, and we see him getting away with actions you or I would never, in capital letters, be able to get away with. That is true as well. So many examples of that. Jerome says, so why don't Mike and Nat step up and tell us all about the sustainable development, 2 of the Democratic councillors that vote no to referendum. So that's Jerome. Yeah, we can ask them as well. I've thought of that too, of the sustainable development goals, that we will eventually have a conversation about that on our local level. We see videos of other municipalities talking about it. And I think Sudbury is just going to wait until we can get it right and then do it right. So that's my gut feeling on it. Denise, now that Trudeau, I guess, is on the hot seat and he's found guilty, does that mean everything he did is nullified, I hope? That'll be interesting. Marianne says, yes, heard of that and heard about the UK also. Yes, backing out of the treaty with the WHO. So Belinda says they demonize everything that protects our rights. That's true. Even the Canadian flag was demonized for a while, right? Because people were using the Canadian flag saying, we're Canadian, we want to be Canadian, and we want to continue to be Canadian. We want everything that we thought was Canadian to be kept and not lose our Canadian identity. And that was demonized, those people with those flags. It's almost like, what? This is our country. How could that even happen? Vin says the wording in the WHO treaty is actually a, quote, potential, unquote, health crisis. Potential health crisis. Name one thing on this planet that isn't a potential health crisis. Exactly, Marianne says, and I do as well. Jerome says, so how about private investors dig into the personal life of our counselors here in the city? Okay, well, that's something that you are welcome to do, and many people have done it with people in the public to find out if there's dirt. I think a lot of politicians are, when you get into the arena, you're putting yourself out there. You know there's a possibility of people doing that, and I guess you should try your best to have as clean of a life as possible and not have things that people can dig up. But I mean, that's obviously a temptation that people would have to do with people in the public eye, including politicians. And that's what you're susceptible to if you are going to get into the public, to open scrutiny about your personal life too, right? So it's something that, you have to make sure you're aware of if you're going to go into public life, especially when they cause all health crises. I believe you're talking about the WHO now, Marianne. The will of humanity will be the will of humanity. The will has been tested globally. That's Denise. For sure, all kinds of that going on in the world at this moment. People are being tested in all kinds of ways. Side note, has anyone caught anything going on with that Eurovision stuff? It's like really satanic, really bizarre stuff, Eurovision. It's kind of like, was it the Grammy Awards a couple of years ago with the satanic rituals being done? Really, the world is in a really weird space at this time. Lots of weird stuff going on. But here locally, if we're going to look at our local news aggregator, we'll get back to people's comments. I'll make sure to get them on the screen. I see here, if people go down the rabbit hole, this is Marianne, our collective and political rights still sit in the UK. That is true. We are still officially under the monarchy, under their rule, because when the Charter of Rights was done, we were only given minimal rights because Canada was not properly decolonized. There you go. There are a lot of laws and legal things with Canada that I'm still looking into at this time that are very interesting. And the way we're governed, it's probably not the way you actually thought or have been taught. Belinda says, COVID payoff for Penny Sutcliffe. Is she enjoying retirement? ? That's Belinda. Shirley says, yeah, because we shared that she made over $800,000 during COVID in 1 year in 2020. Wonder where that money came from. It was said that she did some overtime and stuff, and they were short of staff, and she was working really hard. But still, that's questionable why you make over $800,000 in 1 year. Good morning, Sudbury. This is Shirley, wishing everyone a happy, healthy, and safe week. Same to you, Shirley. Thanks for being on. Vin says, stay strong, people, I think is what you meant. Optimism has never been further from reach than in today's society, yet here we are, remaining optimistic and keeping people informed. Exactly. It is good to be optimistic regardless. I mean, even if we are going into, an interesting, challenging time where it's going to be, a lot of not good things, we can still choose to be positive and do everything we can to make our world positive around us. And positivity comes from inside you and your mind and your heart and that's where it lives, and that's where, nobody can get into. No one can take that away from you at all, no matter how the world turns out. We talk about a lot of negative things, and sure, when it's sunny out, I feel a lot better, but I can still feel good when it's cloudy, and with the geoengineering that's going on and making it very cloudy most of the time. If you don't do that, you're going to be depressed all the time, right? So happiness can't come from the sun or come from money or come from people. It really does need to come from inside, and we need to stay positive regardless, right? So a few local headlines here from our news aggregator, Sudbury.news. Story coming in from Sudbury.com. It's the firearm seizure spike in Sudbury last year. Did you know that? There was a firearm seizures spike. There were 525 firearms stored as evidence at Greater Sudbury Police Service headquarters last year, which was a spike from 423 recorded in 2022. So it's more than about 100 more firearms. This, regardless of what our federal government is doing to help the situation of firearms, firearms bad. And so what they do is they go after legal, firearm owners, law-abiding firearm owners, and they make it harder for them to obtain a firearm. And the firearms they have, they're making more and more of them illegal. But still, we see the rise in firearms being seized. But these are illegally obtained firearms, mostly handguns. So all their policies, they don't really do anything about this. They don't do anything about the people committing the crimes with the weapons that they're getting illegally. It's just for the cameras and for purposes of, I'm not sure. There's a left kind of ideology that, they don't like the idea of firearms, anyone owning one. They're all dangerous no matter what, even if someone's the most skilled and trained in handling them and storing them and everything. It doesn't matter, just guns bad. I don't know how that is. It's like saying cars bad. Well, they'd feel that too because they're bad for the environment. But, anything that could be used, a hammer is bad. No, is a hammer bad? Well, a hammer could be used to do a lot of damage to somebody, even kill them. But a hammer's not bad, right? And so it's been demonized more and more in our country over the years, and you've been a subject of that demonization through our culture, that guns equal bad. And so when the government comes out and just says that we're going to take away people's rights for firearms and things like that, a lot of people are on board with that because they just feel that to their core. They're not sure why. Because it can do a lot of damage to somebody. Anything can do a lot of damage to somebody. If you have intent to do damage to somebody, no matter what you use, you can use anything. Firearms are one of them that you can use. But anyways, we see a spike in Sudbury, regardless of any policies that have been made, and they're being made to stop gun violence, but it's not working. So whatever they've been doing is not working. And there you go. Cruise ships on the Great Lakes. Cruise ship officials expect another banner year welcoming visitors to the region, and big numbers possible as a smaller port ship stops. So the idea of people going on vacations across the Great Lakes, stopping in different parts along the way, just like people would do a cruise in the Caribbean, stopping at different. People love going around the Great Lakes. So that's an interesting thing there, right? Sudbury Transit, this is CBC. Sudbury Transit expects to set new ridership record in 2024. Now, what is your guess of why the new ridership, we're breaking records for new ridership on our city transit? If you'd say it's because of the influx of new Canadians and international students, you would be right. Yes, so that's good for business for the transit system. So I'm not surprised that story and that headline comes from the CBC, because this is something that's good. They just look at the good of all these policies that are made, whatever, they rarely look at the negative aspects of it. Greater Sudbury is set to break a new record for the transit riders again this year, with plans to put more buses on the road this fall to meet demand later this fall. But some GOVA users say it won't be enough. We need more and more buses, which is great. And there'll be battery ones soon, right? Just hope they don't burst out in flames and kill everyone on the bus. That would be a bad thing, right? So we're just glad that we're getting battery operated buses, and we're getting more of them because we have more new Canadians and more students, no housing, and we have a housing crisis, but there's no problem with that. Yes, you got it right, Miles. Right answer. And so I guess if you look at the good side, I look at a lot of good side of it. It's just the bias in the media that I'm pointing out. I think it's a great thing. I know a lot of new Canadians, a lot of international students are friends of mine, and I think it's a great thing. I think there's a higher purpose that's great that even the government doesn't realize what they're doing. So I think it's great. I just think I'm just showing the incompetence of government when they do things, but I actually don't mind that at all. I think it's going to turn out to be a positive thing, despite them doing it in a way that had no foresight whatsoever, and they're doing it for different reasons. But it is what it is. And speaking of that, this sustainable development goals in our cities are definitely something to be looked into. And there's different people going about different. And good morning, Diane. Thanks for being with us. And Yummy Supper's Day Mother. That's great. Hope everyone had a yummy Supper Day's Mother. Or Supper Mother's Day. Yummy Supper for Mother's Day. Woo! I don't know why. I was trying to just read it quickly. I should have just read it exactly the way you said it. And bon matin. And thank you for being on. So a lot of people are going around to these city council meetings and finding out about all these UN initiatives that have gotten into our municipalities. And it almost seemed like it was the frog in the pot thing or the dog on the chain, taking away the one link at a time. And here we are, ready to roll out all these initiatives that, wait a minute here, where did these initiatives come from? And what are they for? And are they there to help us? So here's just a segment from a lady in Victoria, which is, a city in British Columbia on the island there. And I'm going to get this all set up here. You might hear some volume. I'm not sure. You shouldn't, but if you do, I apologize for that as I'm getting this all set up for everybody, as it's not easy to do, to just play a video. You can't just play a video. There's got to be 17 different steps to go through in order to do it.
Owned the house since
and look at that. And now you have volume.
We
just
know many
came
people
on its own for no reason. There you go. So we got it ready to go. This is Kathy Bly speaking to a special council meeting, public hearing near Victoria, British Columbia. And just picture it happening here in Sudbury, because the same sustainable development goals are happening in our community. And if you live in a different community anywhere in the world, more than likely these sustainable development goals, or SDG for short, are happening in a city or a town near you. So this is a little bit of a, somebody expressing their, as my thing isn't working anymore here. Oh my goodness, this is not easy at all. But we're going to make it happen regardless at some point. I know. We'll just get it started, and I'll get the video to come in as soon as my mouse wants to work. Here you go. Oh, now we need volume again. There you are.
Hello, my name is Kathy Bly. I live at 140 Ontario Street in James Bay, and I live in a house that I was born in, and I'm 64 years old, and my son was born there, and my family has owned the house since 1951. We know many people, and many of our relatives live in Saanich, and I grew up on Cordova Bay, and so I have a big connection here. And a lot of people have said things, but I'm going to sort of expand on a few of the things that people have said. Sustainable development goals are wolves in sheep's clothing. Looking deep into this initiative, the future implications are concerning. SDG documents show the goal is to reduce our consumption of clothing, ownership of private vehicles, property rights, I'm sure you all own property, Personal meat consumption, mobility, farms and livestock, rural living, and older homes will require expensive environmental retrofits, a poverty policy for some. 15 minutes/smart cities will be 24/7 surveillance in real time through the Internet of Things and the loss of control of your data. If smart cities are so great, then many fully informed citizens will take part or not voluntarily, as is our choice. OCP plans are upon us. The people have some concerns. Read the 15-minute city plans. 1, can council guarantee that citizens will remain free to move freely, as is our right under the Charter of Rights and Freedoms? 2, can council guarantee that surveillance tech such as facial recognition and license plate reader technology will not be implemented in our city? Most importantly, we are requesting council exit their non-binding agreement surrounding United Nations SDGs. Incentives given may wrongfully drive key decisions made for our corner of the world. Talking to citizens, read 15-minute city plans. Most have not time to read the fine print and consider any future nefarious implications. Anything can be misused. Safeguards must be put in place. There was a time when open, transparent municipal government served its citizens, not global entities. Agenda 2030 SDG goals will affect the lives of the good citizens and businesses of our town. We should be given consideration over ideologies. I also urge each and every one of you to examine your involvement and knowledge of 15-minute city plans, because this soft coup, although it's not so soft, of our way of life has been a long-laid plan that people all over the world are waking up to. And if it were me, I sure would not want to be left holding the bag on this one, because we're not having it. And on the flip side, imagine being the heroes of the day and putting an end to this non-binding nonsense. And don't let your legacy be that you ruined our way of life. Thank you very much for your time. Kathy Bly, James Bay. I just want to say something about density. I live in the most highly dense area in Victoria, and they keep doing this to us, but more towers, more towers. When I took possession of my family home, it was worth $280,000 or maybe $260,000 or something. That was tax assessed. It's now, so that was when my mom died in 2000. So 24 years ago, it's now worth $1.3 million tax assessed. So they take a house like mine down and they put 4 on it. They've been doing that for years in James Bay, but it hasn't brought down the price, and there is no cheaper. No one can afford to live there. I have a son who's 34 years old. He probably could never afford a house here. I'm hoping to keep mine for him. He can have his family home where he was born. But they're probably going to tax me out of that at some level, because they start taxing you for the stuff above your house, so they see that as taxable and usable space. Anyways, I don't want to take up that much time, but I just think that you need to really think about what you're doing. And yeah, thanks. And one more thing. You know, I've worked for 30 years as a nurse. I'm a registered nurse, and I've worked on psych, I've worked on emergency mental health. And I've worked for the military for 13 years as a mental health nurse out there. And I always like to say that I have my pulse on the mental health of this city. I know many people from all walks of life, and it's not the nice place to live it is. It used to be. You can't even go for a drive anymore without getting blocked in somewhere. And yeah, I know the goal is no cars, but has anyone asked us if we want to give up our cars at this point? Because no, I don't think they have. Again, it's an ideology. And thank you for your time, and you've all stayed up very late, and thank you. Yeah,
so what's interesting about that is that, sure, this is, a suburb of Victoria, British Columbia, but it could be any town. Like, it just sounds like she's talking about Sudbury to me. Like, my house used to cost us, sure, it's not 1.3 million from 260,000, but it could be 260,000 back then to 600 or 800,000 now, very easy in the city. Similar idea in that no one can afford homes anymore. And she said some telling things. Towers are going up all over the place, for sure. What do we need all these new towers for? Has anyone told us what they are or what all of a sudden they went up during COVID, the lockdowns? I woke up one morning, looked in my backyard, there was a tower there. Didn't even hear any construction going on or nothing. And then all of a city, all these towers. So there's that. Then she mentioned they don't want us to drive cars anymore, which is true, right? They don't want you to own cars. They pollute, right? They're bad. They're bad for the environment. They're demonized because fossil fuels demonized and all these things and these ideas of everyone's going to live in this unicorn, lollipop, rainbow world where everyone drives electric cars. But when you really boil it down, we don't have the infrastructure. Right. But they don't worry about that because not everyone's going to be able to afford an electric car anyways. They know that already. They know that hardly anyone's going to have a car. You're going to be, getting on that city bus. They're going to increase the city buses. They're going to increase, you're not going to be able to go too far from your house anyways. So they're okay with that. That's not in their future. That they want these types of goals to happen. So the more we try and peel away the layers and look at what this is, and for our city, other cities are very similar. It's happening all over in other cities as well. It's not just ours. And we'll try and see how deep the tentacles have been going into our municipality, and can we get those tentacles out of here and just be able to govern our own city our way and get rid of any unelected officials that have certain agendas that want to use municipalities to have them come to fruition, right? And as long as it's transparent, the people vote. If the people vote for these things and they want them, that's a different story. But when they're being done behind the scenes and behind closed doors and without your knowledge and even, the public relations idea of it, they're publicized with these words of sustainability and green and all these things, but really at the end of the day, they're not for your benefit. They're not for my benefit. They're for the benefit of a small group of people in the world, and so they're not for you. And that's what we will start peeling away and start to understand. But again, thanks for being with us today. It's all the time we have. We'll continue the conversation tomorrow on your station, CKLU 96.7 FM. And online at cklu.ca. Make sure to like, share, comment. I mean, you already did comment on the show, but thanks for your comments. Make sure to like, share, subscribe, all those things. And we'll catch you same time, same place tomorrow on the same platform. Stay tuned now for Earshot Daily on CKLU 96.7 FM. Have a great Monday and beginning to your week, everyone. Ciao.
This is Sudbury News Talk on the morning shift.